Good to have with us Donnie Williamson of the Williamsons. Donnie, how you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great.
I understand you did a little traveling, by the way, over the weekend, went down to Florida, kind of our neck of the woods. I mean, Orlando's probably about 7 hours from here, but back in Oklahoma now.
Yes, we had a great time. We were actually scheduled at a church in Winter Garden for Easter, but with the coronavirus, they had to cancel it. But the first date he had available that was able to have a drive-in service, he wanted us there, so we made it, had a great time.
This coronavirus situation, it certainly has altered the way we do things. You, as the Williamsons, when does it look like you're going to get back on the road?
Well, we actually have a date scheduled this Friday night, so it's an outdoor event, and they're going to be able to spread out. But we've not been as bad here in Oklahoma as a lot of states. Now, the churches are not meeting. Everybody's doing live stream services, but we've not been on total lockdown here. But it's still been bad. We've not been able to travel the same way. I think the last church date we did, besides this drive-in service we did Sunday, was the middle of March.
You know, Oklahoma is not, or at least I guess originally, maybe I'm showing my age from the standpoint of not considered kind of a Southern gospel hotbed, but obviously some great Southern gospel music coming out of Oklahoma. What introduced you to Southern gospel at the start?
Oh, I've just always been a part of my life. My mother, my father, sister, and I with the original Williamson family, started back in the 70s. We're probably in the late 60s. We were actually doing a little bit of singing around, and just have never known not to be singing.
Now, there was a time frame, though, that you weren't the Williamsons, right? That there was some name changes and group changes. And tell us that transition that got you back to the Williamsons in, about 2008?
Well, you are pretty smart. Yeah, the Williamson family, there was something going on consistently. We never totally stopped. It was so much doing something, but I reorganized everything in 1998 and brought in some outside members that weren't family, and I changed the name to the Homesteaders Quartet. Oklahoma is the Homesteaders state, and so I didn't think I'd be singing much past my backyard, but very soon things began to blossom and begin to get more and more dates to go sing elsewhere. And we had a project that was distributed by Crossroads, and there were some marketing problems with the name. There were other groups that had a similar name or the same name, and so we just went back to our family name. That was the easiest transition, I guess. So really, we've been going about 50 years with the Williamsons.
I noticed too that from a standpoint of finances, you are not, and I noticed it on the website, so it's something that you do publicize. You don't ask for a flat where dates are concerned. That's unique to Southern Gospel, to those who are in it as a full-time ministry.
Well, and I'm not saying, Roger, that I never will. But at this point, I'm doing everything that I can to keep from doing that. And, people have been gracious to us. We have a few monthly supporters so that we can go into small churches that can't afford us. And it's just so hard. I grew up in small churches that my dad pastored. And it's hard for me to go into a church that's running 50 people and tell them what it's really going to cost to pay my expenses to come. And so we're doing everything that we can. And just the way I've set up this group, and in fact, it's been a blessing during this virus because we're probably in better shape than a lot of groups, because I have decided not to put all at my level. I have not put all of my eggs in the Southern gospel music basket, and so we've got a recording studio. We've got some other things that we do. I've got an old 1998 model Prevost bus that runs great, and I don't have a $250,000 bus I'm making a payment on. So I've really tried to keep overhead down and have some other sources of income should we need it, and that's been a real blessing during this time.
Tell me about this mission aspect that has taken you outside of the United States, but to other parts of the world as well. How did that come to be, and how do you select the countries in which you visit?
Well, That's a great question. We work a lot with a radio network here in Oklahoma called the Gospel Station Network, and part of that team is the World Mission Team, and they a couple here that's been in missionary evangelism for years. Mike and Jan Russell head up that team, and so far our mission trips have been coordinated with them, and we've been to the Philippines. Our second trip was to Nicaragua. Then we went to Kenya a couple of years ago. But most recently, we organized a trip. It's had to be postponed, of course, with everything going on. That is outside the Gospel Station Network promoted activity. But we were planning a trip to Romania. My wife wrote a song a few years back called Monday. It's a song about the family. And it was picked up by a lady in Romania who was a former pop star there. And the song became popular in Eastern Europe. And so they've asked us to come there. And we got another video just the other day from a Christian school. I had a whole kids choir singing this song Monday that my wife wrote. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we've had to hold off on that, but that's still in the works. And we're hoping to put that trip together when everything settles down. Don't know just when that'll be now, but we will take the gospel anywhere that we can. And that's just an opportunity God opened the door for us to do. And so we're going to continue as long as we can.
What is the response like in those countries, and what's the crowd attendance in those countries to Southern Gospel?
Well, it's always good. Now, our trip to Nicaragua, of course, that's not an English-speaking country. Now, in the Philippines, English is kind of the unifying language there. I don't know how many different dialects they have, but there could be an island that, 5 miles separation. They have different dialects on those islands. So the unifying language tends to be English. So we could go there, preach and sing, and they could understand what we were doing. Same thing in Kenya. They teach English in their school. So a lot of people there, it may be somewhat broken, but they do speak English. Now, Nicaragua, a whole different deal because they don't speak English there at all. And our music would kind of draw people up where we could preach to them through an interpreter, but you really can't sing through an interpreter. And so I'm trying hard to be real selective on where it takes a lot of money to get this big machine going on a trip like that. So I am trying to go into countries where that they are somewhat familiar with English if we're going to take the whole group and minister in music. Now, I'll still go preach and preach to an interpreter, and that's a whole different thing. But the response is phenomenal. In fact, we've been part of about, I would say, over 25,000 people making professions of faith in Jesus Christ in these three missionary meetings.
Are you ever concerned about your own safety in some of these areas?
Oh yeah. In Kenya, heavily Muslim populated country, where we usually woke up at our hotel in the morning with the Muslim chants coming from the loudspeakers, and we had a citywide crusade, had just hundreds and hundreds of people come out for that in a pretty rough part of town. And they would transport us in a van all together. We just all kind of crammed up in one little vehicle to keep us together. And we were met by armed guards with military assault rifles, and they would walk us to the places where we'd sit and when it was over, they escorted us back out. It was kind of a scary thing, but God kept his hand on us.
And this, as you mentioned, continues. I guess Romania is next, and after Romania, you want to continue with these visits to other parts of the world?
Oh yeah, we kind of the way we put it. Every time we raise enough money to do another one, that's what we try to do. But as I say, it takes a lot to do that. So it usually takes us 2 or 3 years to get enough money to do another one.
Let's talk about the music, the Williamsons, a couple of number one songs. After getting that first number one, I mean, are you constantly looking for another number one and disappointed if one doesn't top the charts, or is the focus more just on the music and the words in those songs?
Well, that's another great question. I tell you what, I told my producer, we're during this downtime, we're trying to go through. We've had a lot of songs sent to us. And I told my producer, I said, something I really want to focus on this project is having an album full of songs with a strong gospel message content. I have listened before, and I'll be honest, there have been times that I've listened before and I've chosen some song because I thought that might be a great radio song. It just sounded like something that would work well. Shout was one of them. The Shout's a great song. And that was our first number one. But the very first time I heard it, I said, man, that song would do well. And then our second number one, Every Moment, Every Mountain, Every Mile. We actually had our song list selected for our project. And when Joel and Lindsay shared that song with me, I said, guys, man, we've got to do this song. And we ended up actually holding back a song written by Diane Wilkerson and Lee Black that we held back, and a song that my wife wrote because we had a bonus cut, but we took those two off so we could add that one. But both of those songs do meet the criteria of having a great gospel message too. But I really want songs that speak to people. And how can I I'm not looking for fluff. I'm not looking for something that a song that people can just feel good about and it says nothing. I really want, and so if it does, here's a prime example. If I can ramble on just a little bit more, that song I told you about Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I was told by 3 different people that work in radio producing that was not a good radio song. And it turned out that I guess they were right, because it was in the top 40. I think it peaked on the monthly chart at number 31. It was in the Singing News weekly chart in the top 10. But as far as radio goes, it didn't do as well as some of our other songs. But I've got to say that no song we've ever done has had more of an impact than that song has had. And you'll be seeing it floating around this week too, because every Mother's Day, boy, it just pops up, and I'm going to say there's probably been over 1 million views of that thing in the past 2 or 3 years. And and what Southern gospel song gets recorded in different languages? It goes around the world. I think it's been recorded not only in Eastern Europe, but in Zimbabwe and New Guinea. There was a group from India that recorded, made a music video to it, sent it to us. It just had so much of an impact that as much as I want songs to do well on radio, I also want songs that touch people's hearts.
Your group is one that sticks with a traditional sound. Is there ever a impulse or an inclination to venture away from that, or is that where you want to stay, or really is it just by nature, by Williamson nature, that's the sound of the Williamsons?
Well, that's sort of the way that the music that we all love, and so we're going to lean that way. But my wife, she's a great songwriter, and she's very prolific, but she doesn't have a particular writing style. And so now, if you listen to the Tell Somebody project, look at the song "No Umbrellas." That's a song that she wrote. If you go back to some of the older projects, and find a song "What I Could Have Been," I mean, those songs are very progressive. They're beautiful songs, great messages, but that's not primarily what we do. However, my wife's younger brother, Bo Chester, he's our new lead singer now. He's 23 years old. He may have some things he wants to bring to the table, So
you're not opposed to it?
No, we're not opposed to it, but I know a lot of groups have gone very progressive because church music has gone that way. But it's my opinion that those churches that have gone very progressive in their worship music is probably not going to have us anyway, and they're not looking for a progressive quartet necessarily. That may work for a few people, but I don't see it working for us. And so there's still going to be a few traditional churches till the Lord comes back, and we'll keep seeking those out and trying to minister to those people.
For you personally, if one had to stop, you had to stop singing or stop preaching, which would it be?
Stop singing or stop preaching? I'd probably have to stop singing. I've always held preaching to a higher level, a higher standard than I do singing. For example, if I want to be in Florida and I've got 2 or 3 empty nights, I'll try to hunt up some friends and call up, "Hey man, we're going to be down there. We'd sure love to come sing for you." I tend to not do that with my preaching. Mm-hmm. I let God handle that, and in fact, that has happened here lately because during this shutdown, we're not singing, and our local Methodist church here in my little hometown is without a pastor. They've asked me if I would preach for them, and I've agreed to do that through the summer. And we'll see what God has after that. But we're not, we're still going to continue singing and traveling. But I am preaching as well. But I sing a lot more than I preach. But if I had to, as you say, give one up, I'd probably have to give up the singing.
Well, Donnie Williamson, great to have you with us, and thank you, too, for persevering. The folks don't know, but you had a little trial to go through to get to the interview, but you did a great job, and we appreciate you persevering and doing so. And we're, by the way, as I mentioned before, recording that we're both Williamsons, and we both sang. My family sang, too, but as I tell folks, your Williamsons are the ones that can sing. We're the ones that just kind of got up on a stage, took a stab at it.
Oh, I'm sure it was more than that. And the way I was able to do the interview, I'm thankful for guys like me that have wives who are smarter than they are. So, and I'm certainly in that category.
Well, we appreciate it. Hey, and thanks for taking time out to chat with us and talk with our audience as well.
Thank you so much. Honor to be a part.